Hello, and welcome to Alpha Book Club. I'm Hector Navarro, and with me, as always, is Nerdist Editor-in-Chief Rachel Heine.
Hello.
Woo!
That's not me.
The other one's Rachel.
That's okay.
And guys, Maude Garrett is currently in solitude. Maude is in solitude, preparing for the ceremony of 12s.
I'm taking over.
Joining us today in her Alpha Book Club debut is mothership writer and all-around pretty okay person. Did you write this?
No.
It seems like you wrote it.
No.
This feels like a classic Amy Vorpal joint.
I know, I'm very self-deprecating, but I think I don't know who wrote it.
All around pretty okay person, Amy Vorpal. Welcome, Amy. Yay!
Hi,
Yes.
I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah.
I do like books, as it turns out.
Well, Amy, tell us a little bit about your life as a reader.
I love that question. Like my life as a reader it makes me sound like I have a profession in doing it, you know.
I mean, you do. You have a profession. We all are professional readers, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
It's our part of our job.
Read scripts.
Thank
or
you,
read
thank you.
Yeah, that's
articles,
true.
Read and write. You read street signs.
Yeah, and I write all of them off, so so I guess so.
Just real quick before you keep answering that question, Miss Peaceful 89 says, I didn't finish this week's reading because I was too distracted. Start right now. You'll probably finish in about 30 minutes.
So quick.
And then you can
really
jump in the
fast.
convo that
Yeah.
we're having about this week's section. But Amy,
Yeah.
back to you. Your life as a reader.
My life as a reader, so I always, we moved around a lot.
We're going all the way back to the beginning.
I know,
Okay.
I know, but the
Okay.
reason this is important is because
We always do.
I know.
Because, I mean, like all of us here, I'm sure there was a little problem of fitting in, you know. But moving around, I was always the new kid, so my twin and I would glob onto each other, and we would just read. So much to the point where I was the classic kid who ran into walls because I wouldn't look up in the hallways.
When you're reading?
Because I was reading.
And did you and your sister read the same thing?
Not always, but
Oh,
but
I was gonna say
we
built-in
would.
reading buddy,
I
but
mean,
no.
it was some. We would just switch
Cool.
books, you know. And there was also that a program at school where they give you points and you can trade them in, and I don't know if any of you have twins, but it's a built-in competition for everything. So we would go nuts. With the pages and reading and summaries and trying to one-up each other on that. And I will say, from an early age, I really just like fantasy and sci-fi.
Yeah.
Now I'm expanding a I
Yeah.
but I really don't
You're
need.
reading comics now. I know that B-Comp is giving you a lot of
Yeah,
recommendations.
B-Comp is curating my comic reading, and I do expand outside. Like I
Cool.
do tend to like some historical fiction, but I don't really like nonfiction, and I don't really like anything else. And Rachel just recommended me a book that I did enjoy, but
Ooh,
there,
what is it?
It was called Into the Water.
What's it about?
By the woman who
Look how
wrote
proud you look.
Girl
You're so
on the
proud.
Train.
Oh, gotcha.
I read it all
Okay,
this
cool.
I got
weekend.
someone to
Cool.
read a thriller.
Yeah, it was
Great.
fantastic. It was amazing. The themes were great. But I am that person that's like, I don't know if I need another one of these in my life for another 6 months because I need dragons and gold and sorcery.
Also, before we
need
start,
murder.
can you scroll up a little bit? DeMarco Draws says in the chat, which, by the way, we'll say hi to you guys in a second. Wow, Amy is crushing the dress-up game. So,
Ooh,
good job.
Thank you. Well, I knew I was going to be on a show with Rachel Heine, who's always wearing a cute dress. So I was like, well.
And Hector, who always looks like shit. So you will.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Did I not say that out loud?
No.
I meant to say that.
Here's something you got to know about Amy and I. We're dear friends. She's one of my favorite people, and I like to really give her a hard time, like a lot. Like I will be teasing her.
I'm gonna be so upset.
Yeah, you're gonna be
like,
very
"No,
upset.
leave
That's
her
why I'm
alone."
warning you.
Oh,
Like,
no.
I'm warning you. It's all coming from a place of love.
good.
But I will.
Leave Amy alone.
Amy's like my sister. I don't know why, but I just
Yeah.
prank her all the time, and I spook her, and I scare her, and I feel bad. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, I think she's super good at her job. She's really talented. She's a great writer, and I'm really happy
This is
on
making
the
me
show.
feel weird. The
But
other
yeah,
stuff
it's
was
weird.
fine.
It's weird, right? But no.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here, Amy. And
Yeah.
last, but in no way the least, welcome to our Alpha community. We love talking to you guys about these books
Hello.
and about life in general. And we're going to get into it because today is Happy National Read a Book Day. What other books
crazy.
are you guys reading at the moment? What other books are you guys reading? Chat, we want to hear from you. What other books are you reading? Because it's National Read a Book Day. These book holidays always land on the day we do this
I
show.
know, it's magic.
That is magic.
Are you guys reading anything? So you just read The Girl from the Train, but not
Into the Water.
Into the Water. And you're reading, what else are you reading right now? You're reading, what's the name of that thriller book?
It's called Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
But it's about cults. It's about cults.
Ooh, you're up till 2:30 in the morning last night reading it?
Yeah, I was up really late reading it. It's Sacrifice by Sharon Bolton, who does another series that I really like.
Cool.
That was the one that I've talked about, I think, on the show before, that starts with one book that's a Jack the Ripper copycat killer and has a really interesting protagonist. And I just really like all the I like figuring it out, and there are usually a lot of really great themes. I also like the genre is like UK murder mystery thrillers with complex female protagonists. So that's like my super jam.
That's your jam.
So, but I'm reading this one, and it's about like a body was found with its heart missing and runes carved into it, and there's like a doctor, and it's on this small island, and it's really good, and it's all about. And a lot of the themes are similar to Into the Water, which come up a lot in these, which is like about women in these small communities and what happens to them, and people not necessarily caring about what happens to women who disappear necessarily in different communities. So it's really interesting, and I stayed up till 2:30 last night because I thought I was like this close to the end, and then I checked my Kindle, and I was only 70% of the way through, and I was like, okay, I have to go to bed. So
wow.
if you want, we could just start now. We can just read it now.
Yeah.
No.
Get into it. Oh,
But that's
she
what I
just
wanna
wants
do
to read
later.
it. Rachel just wants to read it. Sorry, you're stuck with us for an hour.
I'm excited.
Sorry.
this is
Speaking
fun
of stories that deal with like women disappearing and the world not caring, I just watched the movie Wind River, which deals with that with Native American
Is it
women
good?
on
I really
reservations.
wanna
It was
see
really
that.
good.
I
It
really
was
wanna
really
see
good, but I
that.
didn't know this. But at the beginning it says it's based on true events, and at the end it says that out of every
It
type
was
of
inspired
person,
by true events.
yeah, inspired by true events. But at the end, it says that there are statistics about missing persons in the United States, but the one type of person demographic there isn't statistics about are Native American women, and we don't know how many of them actually disappeared due to violence or.
Oh my
Well, because
God.
they have
yeah.
their own.
Yes.
Often they have their own
Yes.
laws that happens.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like really like eye-opening, really interesting. So check that out.
You should watch Top of the Lake too.
Top of the Lake, is it a
with
film?
Elizabeth Moss. It's a
Ooh, I love Elizabeth Moss.
Sundance
Yeah.
TV
Okay.
series by Jane Campion, who's a like hyper feminist, awesome, amazing filmmaker.
Cool.
And it's set in New Zealand, and it's
The Kiwis.
Oh, the Kiwis.
From New Zealand.
Yeah.
and it's
Where's the
and-
car?
And it's about
how you say
an
New Zealand.
Aboriginal young girl who, So it's a similar theme. Yeah.
Very
The
interesting.
other book that
What do you read? What else are you reading?
the Who Fears Death, which is it's going to turn into a mini series for HBO.
Cool.
And that's how I found out about it. It's definitely fantasy, but it is about
I like fantasy.
women and fantasy and sorcery, just as if like most fantasy it takes place in like medieval alternate
realm.
medieval
Sure.
England. This one takes place in an African country.
Very cool.
So it's definitely
Very cool.
Yeah, like it's got that
But it's
sorcery.
fantasy, yeah.
It's still
It's always
fantasy.
It's
Yeah.
usually in
Yep,
fantasy.
yep.
It's Anglo-Saxon.
Eurocentric.
Yeah, and
medieval
this
stuff.
touches on like the difference of races in there too, like
Mm-hmm.
the black people versus the white people. And they have different names for them, and it's really
What's it
interesting.
called? Oh.
It's called Who Fears Death.
Okay, I'm
Fears
gonna
Death?
read
And
that.
that's the
sounds really
name of
good.
that's what her name.
Who Fears
actually
Death
means.
of Virginia
Yes.
Woolf? That sounds good. I would read that.
No, that's not the book that
No?
I said. No,
That's a really good.
yeah. It's
I would read
book
that
too.
too.
Play.
I would read that too. Yeah. You guys in the chat, Stephen, are you reading The Disaster Artist right now?
Yes.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I want to read it. That seems hilarious. That sounds great. What else are you guys reading? Somebody else was saying that they're reading The Martian Chronicles right now.
Oh yay! Are people finishing it?
nice.
Yeah, I think so. I
So
think people are
good.
finishing it. What else?
Compton most recently, he most recently let me borrow top 10
Comic book?
comic book,
Okay, cool.
graphic novel.
Okay,
Those
cool.
two are really
Well,
cool.
look, they got a link for your book right there.
Oh, yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, it's if
Sacrifice.
you like
Same.
mysteries and murder.
Very nice. Visdom says, I go through a horror
I
binge
do.
from Labor Day through Halloween, so right now I'm reading stories from my H.P. Lovecraft
Oh
anthology.
God,
Love it.
H.P. Lovecraft. I don't think I could do, and Stephen
I
King.
want to.
I've never done
'Cause
because
I
I
just-
get scared out
Yeah.
of my mind.
We just read on Alpha Comic Book Club, we just read a Lovecraftian inspired comic, which made me want to, because I've never read H.P. Lovecraft, so it made
yeah.
me
I
want to read
haven't
it.
either.
Yeah, that would be fun to do.
Well,
Maybe we could do that.
our theme for October should definitely
It has to be.
scary, and I
It
can't
has to be.
wait.
And I wish we could do
because
it, but
Maude
it's too
will
many
lose her
pages.
mind.
Because I kind of want to read it, but it's too many pages.
We could. Well,
we
can
could do it in 2
figure
months?
out?
October, November?
Can we fit
The nightmare before Christmas, and just
the Giver
extend it?
seems like it is like a little bit of a break.
Yeah,
for everybody. Like,
it definitely is.
It's really short, by the way.
Lovecraft is really short. Well, thank you guys
I
for
wanna
letting
read
us know
it.
what you're reading.
Yeah.
I'm reading a Star Trek novel right now, and also Be Calm, Let Me Borrow One, written by Peter David. You what?
Aww.
Oh, what? Big Hop. I didn't know you bought that book for me.
That is a really sweet thing
Cool.
to do.
I can't wait to read it.
I'm going to keep The Preacher then.
Yeah. Just keep it. The Preacher. But guys, let's get into The Giver. Let's
Yes.
get into it.
All right.
Okay. The Giver is a book I read when I was in middle school, I think, maybe, or elementary school, or middle school, or high school. At some
like
point.
a Simpsons character.
Middle school. Yeah. Best book ever. I read it, and I didn't know this. It came out in 1993, which means when I read it, it was like
Whoa.
pretty fresh still, late 90s, early
yeah.
2000s.
Yeah.
Came out in 93, and people in the chat were saying, oh, so this, and this YA book stole from The Giver? Yes, it seems like the answer is yes. That sort of dystopian,
Oh, yeah.
frigid society, rigid society that has a rule, and then the kid has to break. Like,
And it's weird because I think a lot of the critics are saying that it's unoriginal. And it's like, well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's pretty damn original.
So it was written by Lois Lowry, who she wrote Number the Stars,
Yeah.
Anastasia Krupnik.
She's me when I get older. That is 100%.
That is Amy Vorpal when she gets older.
That is 100% me.
And Lois Lowry describes, what I love is, I love the introduction in this version of the book, which I obviously had time to read because it was a short little read. But in the intro, she talks about how much this work in particular has affected people and continues to affect people. And she gets like 60 letters a day or emails about this book and how now parents are now sharing it with their kids. And she's trying to figure out why exactly it is that this book is so important to young people. Like they really just latch onto it as opposed to any of her other work, and she's really proud of it and all this other stuff. So she wrote it. It's frequently on the list of most banned books in school. Why?
That
it's
is
so
okay,
harmless.
So her going into like why
Wow.
it's touched people both positively and negatively, and why it's been banned, the whys behind these things. I did like some internet searching.
What do you
and
got? Hit us with it.
Not much. Like unfortunately, it's like these people who are offended by it, who can't express themselves, and I think that's important.
Yes.
To note that like the people who are offended by it are like
They cannot
it's the
express why.
euthanasia.
Yeah.
It's the kids are talking. Oh, they're talking about how the kids have like get horny. Oh, it's because but they all sound like surface level weird.
When I think they're really mad at
The mirror that they're looking into.
Exactly. I think that people that are mad at this book, they're mad because it's a book that says if things keep maybe going the way they're going, or if things go a certain way, we can end up like this. Like every other dystopian fiction.
Yeah.
And people get offended at that because they might buy into some of the ideas that they know will lead to that. And so they get frustrated.
I'm gonna this is fairly obvious, but we just read it recently. I mean, this is YA 1984. So it's like
Very much,
in a slightly less aggressive way, but they have these rules, and because they're taught so young, he doesn't even know what any of this actually means. He doesn't know, and we'll get into it, but like he doesn't know what lust is. He doesn't know that things can't be different.
And I
And
think
they're
it's
trained to do all of these things that this like very rigid society that I think anyone who maybe is a part of something like that, when you see that being reflected to you in a negative way, it makes you uncomfortable because then you have to reflect on what's happening in your own life, I think, and why you're not necessarily questioning what's going on around you and critical thinking.
That's a great comparison.
I mean, I don't know if these people are the same people who are going against the video games and the other TV shows.
Probably.
That is very maybe, but it like cuts to the core of what just seeing like kind of cleavage or whatever you see on TV and video games, that violence. This is like so more emotionally deep than that I think that's what they're reacting more to.
I agree. Yeah, all that other stuff. Like I remember when I was a kid, and people got mad at Mortal Kombat, and as a kid I was playing Mortal Kombat, and I was like, this is such surface level stuff. It's not offensive. It's so fake and dumb. Like it's not challenging your beliefs. Mortal Kombat is never like, look inside yourself and who you are. Raiden never says that, but then this book will do that. Did you ever read 1984, Amy?
No, that one.
Good. Don't read it. You don't have to.
It's
okay.
It's super dry and boring.
Much preferable to that, but the themes of living in a society where you're basically being brainwashed so that you don't know your own history, you don't know, and they literally change history to reflect the narrative that they want.
And
to
here's
tell,
what I think
which is very prescient.
Yes, it is. Here's what I think is really interesting too is that in 1984 the protagonist is like an adult grown male who's like even like in his 40s or something. Isn't he like late 30s, early 40s?
And he's not
he
not
sucks.
a big, he sucks.
He sucks.
Yeah,
but
he sucks.
in the
Maybe
whole
not his
world,
fault, but he
in the
sucks.
whole world of YA, I feel like it does make sense to have the protagonist be a young person who is confronted with these ideas, because it makes sense that a young person is not all the way set in their ways. Do you know what I mean? So when they're like learning stuff about their bodies or about the world, and they learn a truth, they're more receptive to it, as opposed to somebody who was like in their late 30s, early 40s. So 1984 was crazy because this guy was so going against his own programming, that the way he'd been for decades. But this seems a little bit more like, it makes sense that like a 12-year-old
they're like,
is gonna
this is a little weird.
It's gonna be like, what's my body, and like ask
other
that kind of
arguments
stuff.
about this book, this is from critics who aren't necessarily against or for banning the book, but other critics were saying that the logic doesn't make sense, or that
shut up, get out of here.
And the counter
dumb.
argument to that is the logic makes sense for what the author's trying to portray.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes in books and stories, like you make
I
the
hate
logic.
that stuff. You could destroy any fictional world.
Oh,
you
yeah.
could be like Star Wars. It doesn't make any sense. Like logically, Star Trek. It's
We
dumb.
don't
It
even,
would never happen.
don't even
It's
get me
like,
started on Game of Thrones.
it's like Game of
now
Thrones,
this magic exists, and now this magic exists, and you're like,
Lord of the Rings is fake. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
really.
It doesn't make any sense.
We're not. Yeah, we're
It's not
on the
real.
same
I
team
think
here.
for me, it's the universe building, right? It's the world building. If you set a set of stakes, you can always add to them. You can always change them. But having that, it doesn't mean that it has to fit our normal Earth logic.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you're inventing something that frustrates me in, like, when you watch new sci-fi shows, for example, that maybe you don't continue on, where you're like, okay, what are the rules of this universe,
Right.
and where are we playing in? Because sometimes there aren't stakes if you don't have that, and so I understand that.
And it's difficult
complaint, but I do think it's like, well, it's fantasy. That of course there's new stuff that's going to.
I think it's difficult to reveal that stuff as the story needs it, while not making it seem like you're just revealing it because the story needs it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Harry Potter
It's
does a
hard.
brilliant job of showing you rules of the world as they pertain to Harry's story as you travel along, and it doesn't seem like JK's just cramming in there because she knows that she needs to get to us. Like, you're like, okay.
She also leaves breadcrumbs.
Exactly.
A lot. Like,
Exactly.
there's stuff in the first book which we'll read someday.
I hope so on this
have
show,
you
but not
never-
you. You'll never read it, Amy.
You don't. What are you talking about? I already read it. I
okay.
already read Harry.
I just
Have you
meant
not
on this
read
show.
it?
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, on this show, I'll
Yeah,
never
yeah.
read. Oh, I don't know why. No, I do know why. Yeah, I'm your little target. I'm your little victim.
Yeah. I feel bad about that now.
But
yeah.
there's
No,
Right.
don't. I do take it as acts of love.
That's what it is.
Sniping.
like sibling.
So have you guys read The Giver yet? I haven't read Harry
Before?
Potter. You guys have read Harry Potter before. I've read The Giver. Have you read The Giver before?
I did.
Okay.
I think I read it. I wasn't assigned it in school, but somehow my sister, a grade below me, was.
Got it,
and,
okay.
And yeah, I was obsessed with books, so I was like, yeah, mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it too. I'm curious if people haven't read it, because I feel like it's a big one for kids in middle
Yes.
school, but I don't. If you haven't and
What
you
is it
haven't
like-
seen the movie,
right,
The
what's it like for
reveal
an
was
adult?
so epic to me, and I don't want to spoil. We'll
Which
get to
reveal?
it later.
Is it in the first
book.
section?
No.
Oh.
But
Did you read the
just-
whole book?
No, I just remembered the book.
Oh, 'cause you read
I
it
read
before.
it, yeah.
Okay, okay,
But I
okay.
just don't want to. I really don't want to spoil it, because when I was like, I read it when I was like 10, and
Yeah.
I think I got it in school. Yeah, it was my favorite teacher who actually got me into creative writing, because we had these assignments where we'd get themes each month and you'd work on a story. And she was a really great teacher, and she had all these great books. And my mom is actually a teacher. She's a she retired, 5th and 6th grade teacher.
Cool.
But at a public school where they didn't have a lot of resources. And so when I read this, we bought a bunch of these books for her class after I read it, because I loved it so much, and I would always donate my old books to her
Cool.
class. But she reads it now every year. She read it every year with her students, because
Yeah.
it's just like, you're the perfect age at 10 or
Yeah.
11 to read
Yeah.
this book, because you totally get what's going on. And but I just remember being, when this book won the poll, I was like, God, this book devastated me when I was
Really?
younger.
Yeah, that I remember that reveal too,
Wow.
being
Yeah.
just the what, and I feel like, as a cynical older person reading, it's like, oh, yeah, I would have
It
taken
doesn't-
some
it
from a
doesn't-
mile away.
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
I
seem
think-
scandalous at all or
No,
anything. Yeah.
but that reveal at the end is like,
You're like,
Interesting.
what? So
they
yeah.
can't. They can't.
Yeah.
They can't. You know. And,
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember that reveal in that same way, or even what the reveal is that you guys are referring to.
Yeah, I'm
I just
interested to-
rewatched. Actually, I've never seen it. I watched the movie for the first time
Did you
before
like it?
rereading it, and I liked it. I had a
Good.
good time
Okay,
with it.
cool.
It's
Then I
not
can
great.
talk to you.
It
Yeah.
was made
I've
for
seen it.
$16 million. You can tell the special effects are like ugh in a lot of parts, but you know
I
what?
remember liking
Jeff
it too.
Bridges is in it, and now I'm working on my Jeff Bridges impression for when we get to the Giver in the story. And now I like love him as the Giver. Like I think it's
I think
great.
that's really good casting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Meryl Streep is in it, and I was like, oh shit, it's the Streeper. She's amazing.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
gonna be great.
When I
That's
thought
what
of
you
it,
call
I thought it was Kate, not Kate Blanchett, Kate
Winslet.
and then I remembered that was the Hunger Games.
Yeah, she's in that.
Like, no,
it's
Divergent.
Divergent.
Divergent. They're all the same.
No, she's in Twilight. You're thinking of Twilight.
Yeah.
She's Bella in Twilight.
I would 100%
no, I am not comparing
watch
Kristen
Kate
Stewart.
Winslet
As Bella.
Bella in Twilight.
I would too.
But you'd
She would
have
take
to
no guff.
rewrite a lot of the character.
So I also
Yeah,
didn't know
so-
this, but there's 3 books that follow the Giver. It's a
I know, I
quartet.
didn't read
And I'm kind of
them.
like, I don't know if I would keep going. I might now. I mean,
I
know.
don't know because I was like, I didn't read these, but then
Yeah.
I
You did.
pretty
read 'em.
sure I read Gathering Blue.
Whoa.
Maybe they hadn't come out. I don't know when they were
Well, I
published.
feel like this is. I mean, I never read. No, I did. I read the Ender's Game sequels, and it's the same thing. It's like, why would you do
Sure.
that?
Sure.
Don't like just because.
Oh man,
it
if
was
we
just
ever
a
read
mistake.
if we ever read Ender's Game on this show, I dislike that book a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to read Ender's
You
Game
miss
either.
Yeah.
what? You don't? You
Yeah.
guys don't like Ender's Game?
No.
Yeah.
Hitler apologist.
I'll get into it. I'll get into it after. Yeah,
Oh my
I'll
God,
tell you after. Yeah.
guys!
Yeah.
I like Iron Fist. I like Ender's Game.
That's okay. That's fine. That's
Are
fine.
these
so
wrong
entitled.
choices?
Hey, you've
You're
got good taste.
entitled
You've
to
got
your
good taste. What's your
opinion.
favorite movie of all time?
It is Lord of the Rings Fellowship.
Great. What's your favorite book of all time?
I mean, Ender's Game was definitely on the list.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It-
Then you don't have
I
good
guess
taste.
I guess I could say Lord of the Rings
Yes, you
again.
don't. I get. Yeah, just Lord,
Lord
of
of
the
the
Rings
Rings
for
or
everything.
The Hobbit?
It's like
Because I loved The Hobbit.
Hobbit's
I
great.
actually
It's almost
really
the
love the
85th
whole trilogy
anniversary
of
of
Lord
The
of the
Hobbit.
Rings.
We should read The Hobbit. That would
Yeah.
be so
The
much
Hobbit
fun.
would be great. I would
So-
super read that. Wait, can I say one thing before we
Yeah,
get into the
yeah,
book?
yeah, yeah.
My favorite detail in the bio in the back. Okay. Lois Lowry is known for her versatility and invention as a writer. She's the author of more than 30 books for young adults.
Oh, cool.
She has received countless honors, among them the Newbery Medal for 2 of her novels, Number of the Stars and The Giver, the first novel in the Giver Quartet. Miss Lowry now lives in an 1840s farmhouse in Maine. Why that detail?
But I do hear authors being like, they live
With their
their
cats,
family,
yeah.
their cat, and like
Maybe
it's kind
that's
of
some
like,
kind of a clue.
yeah, that's her
It's always
friend.
like- it's
That's her
always
friend.
like,
this
yeah.
house that creaks.
Yeah, it's
and
always like
shakes.
her husband on a farm with their 2 dogs and 4
Yeah.
pigs, which is
Yeah.
fine. But just that detail
Maybe
is like,
maybe her publisher was like, "Oh, listen, Lois, we know that you're not married and don't have kids, but can you give us something? She was like,
Absolutely.
I'm in an 1840s farmhouse. Like, put that in the book.
Yeah.
That's
That's
probably what
my new
happened.
canon
Yeah.
for
And she
Lois
was just like,
Lowry.
okay.
It looks like she's a gardener.
Yeah.
So she could have put like
Throw up that
this is her
picture of Lois
1840s
again.
Yeah.
1840s farmhouse.
That picture
in Maine
that we
with
look
her
at that. That's her
carrots.
1840s
Or
farmhouse
like,
in Maine.
with her lilies or something,
Rad.
Oh,
With
and
her
she's got a
lilies.
cat. Come on, that's a cat back there.
Where's her? What?
Behind
Is it
her.
a cat or
That's a cat.
dog?
Can we zoom in? Can we enhance?
Yeah.
Enhance.
That is a creature.
Enhance the image.
100% that's a creature.
Stand by. That's not
And
a
that's
creature.
a legit.
It's either it's
100%
either a
that's a
chicken
creature. That
or
is a
pillow.
white.
Is it
and
a
gray.
piglet?
It's a chicken.
It's a white and gray something.
In
Lois,
my
what's behind you,
imagination,
Lois?
it's a
She is
little
not
piglet.
lonely. She's doing great.
She's great.
And she's me when I'm.
It's a dog.
It's a.
Are you
Or a
sure it's
rabbit?
not
That
a
isn't.
pig?
That doesn't actually help.
Enhance.
I still don't know what that creature
Live.
is.
Enhance.
Is it a bunny?
I think it's a. Oh my God! It's a ghost.
Is it a goat?
It's a haunted 1840s
Why don't you guys
farmhouse.
think it could be
I don't know
a
where
pig?
its head is.
I guess it has a tail. I think its head is this.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it
it's a
could be
it's a
a little
it's-
dog, a
Here's,
little
here's the other thing
terrier.
I love. It's a cat or dog. It's a cat or dog. Lois Lowry sent
we
this
tweet at
picture
Lois
in.
Lowry
yes.
right
What
now?
is it?
And she's on Twitter. She sent this picture in, and her publisher was like, "Lois, what
Why
the hell is
is
that
it-
behind you?" And she was like,
Cats
"I
no
don't
help.
care. Leave it."
Chat, you're not helping.
It's one of my
Tiny
pets.
goat.
No one knows. Chad doesn't even know.
I think
Chad
I'm
knows
with
everything
the moderator.
all the time.
It's a tiny goat.
I think it's a
What
pig.
is in front of it? It's like this fuzzy thing hanging in front
Poor
of it.
Java Book Geek Girl. What's our tangent count so far? Very much, a lot.
I know.
There's a
but
there's
that's
a ton.
because the section's really short.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about. Well, first of all, did you guys see the movie?
I did. I barely remember it.
Okay,
I remember
it's very
enjoying
generic.
it.
It's
Yeah,
very
I
generic.
I'll
remember enjoying
probably.
it.
You haven't seen it yet. Okay.
I feel like I'm gonna. This took me. I was like,
It's on
after
Netflix.
some of our, I saw it. I'm
Okay.
gonna watch it.
Okay, great.
Because I didn't see it at the time. I watched the trailer and was like, nah, I'm out.
The
Like, I
beginning's
liked-
great. The
I liked-
ending's not great, but I want to compare it with the book, and I think it's going to be really interesting.
If
and
I have a reason to,
there
I'm
it is.
gonna do it.
Great. And the score is by Marco Beltrami. Love the score. I thought it was fantastic and great to listen to while you read The Giver. So, and there's one
Yeah,
scene
there you
with
go.
Jeff Bridges and Meryl Streep that I thought was amazing and was really interesting and gave her Meryl Streep's character, like, it just made her very, very interesting to me. And I was like, okay, cool. I want to support that. I thought that scene was great, but that's why you got Meryl Streep, so that you can do one scene. And yeah,
Do you guys, when I watched it, and this is similar to, I think, the, Ready Player One trailer, where these dystopian movies, which granted this was one of the earlier books
Sure,
of that nature,
1993.
but they have the same look. Like,
Yeah.
that to me looks like Divergent, which was the worst, maybe. There was another one that was really
I could see
bad.
that.
The Scorched
Trials.
Maze Runner,
Oh, the
the
Maze
Scorched Trial
Runners.
was actually pretty good.
Oh, I
but
love the Maze
I
Runners.
like the Maze Runner movies,
Yeah.
but
Littlefinger, how he says the scorch.
oh yeah. Why does he wear the mask? I love Aidan Gillen, but no, I just don't like. I
look of
don't
it.
like
No, none of
the
them are
way
unique.
it looks, because this to me feels like small. Like, I know there's a loudspeaker and it feels a little future tech and there are
Yes.
pills and stuff, but it felt more like
Modern day?
Yes, it felt or like suburban, like in. I'll draw back to another book that we read in the A Wrinkle in Time
in Time,
trailer.
yes.
with when they're in
A very uniform neighborhood.
what's it called? It's a weird name.
I can't remember.
But the it's like Cozumel, but that's an island. That's not. That's a real place. But
Cozumel.
that is
Yeah.
the vibe that I'm getting from this, where they're in a family unit and everything
movie's
is really
not
nice and
too
clean.
futuristic. It's not. They
That
have like
looks-
bikes and
They
stuff.
have the
They
weird
like,
bikes and everything
Yeah.
is gray.
Yeah, it's true.
I thought if I were to pick a color palette that's boring, I would pick more like beige and brown and like warmer
Very
colors that
80s.
feels like it. Yeah,
Very 80s. I like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
that was the vibe I got.
You still with us, Amy?
I am. I am, but I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember the look. Oh, come on. I don't remember the look like bothering me.
Yeah, sure.
And I also think, and also, like a costume designer teacher once told me that
Mm-hmm.
you can tell more about the era of the movie, the time period of the time period that the movie's made in.
Yes.
Than what it's set in.
what it's set in based on the costume.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think
That's
I think
sort
that goes
of
for.
for this, because when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, you can tell that they were like, we got to get a
movie out.
Divergent up in
Yeah,
here
it's true.
for this studio,
And it's
whichever
not-
studio made
I haven't,
this.
I haven't read any other YA, but The Giver's not super action packed. It's not, you know what I mean?
It's quiet
It's very
and
quiet.
internal.
It's very quiet. So for them to try to advertise this as like a sexy teen like YA movie,
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're
that's
right.
not what it is.
You're
And
right.
they
That
aged up the main
trailer-
character. Jonas is going
Yeah,
from 12
that's
to
not
like
Jonas.
17 or something, which is
Jonas-
fine. But all of those kids are super hot. They're all good looking.
Yeah.
You know, and that kid is going to be Nightwing. That kid is going to be Dick Grayson Robin in the Titan show, and he was in Pirates of the Caribbean 5,
Oh,
and he did
yeah,
a great
Brendan
job. And Katie
Thwaites.
Holmes is in it, and the kid who plays like maybe creepy young
Skarsgård.
Joker in Gotham is in it, and he did a good job. And I don't know what she's from, but she's very pretty, and
You
it's
know
just a
what
bunch of
they
good-looking
should
kids.
cast? This is I swear I'm going to stop on the tangents, but the new
Yeah.
It movie.
Those kids.
The kids in that are so good.
Yeah.
It's very
you see it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's very. I wrote the review that's on
Cool.
Nerdist.com.
Cool, cool.
And it's very like Stand By Me, and it reminds me of times before now when kids looked like
Yes,
kids. They
kids look
didn't
like
look
kids.
airbrushed.
I know.
And that's another part of these like Divergent where it's like sexy teens. It's like
Yeah.
no, the part
So-
of Jonah's
Yeah.
appeal to me is that he is
12.
quiet, is that he's
Mm-hmm.
very internal. It's that he feels shy. And again, like a lot of the books that we've read, having that sort of gateway when you're a young reader, when you feel left out and you're reading these kinds of books,
Yeah.
that's your entry point
Yep.
into this book where you're like, oh, I get that. Oh, I worry about telling people how I feel, and those are such universal concerns.
I do like the way she actually writes is like such a simplistic. Like the sentence structure is just kind of what it is. Like there's no flowery anything to
just
it.
like
The
on the
dialogue
back.
is.
According to this review from Book Report, from a starred review, the simplicity and directness of Lowry's writing force readers to grapple with their own thoughts, and that's true. It's true.
I think I wrote that review.
You did?
Yeah, Book
It was
Report.
right there.
That was me. Yeah.
Book Report, yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
So we've only read the first 5 chapters this week.
Which was really hard to do. By
You
the way.
want to keep going? Watch the
yeah.
movie. Rewatch the movie. It's on Netflix. Because
I'll
I
rewatch the movie.
got the satisfactory like the whole thing, and just reading the first 5, I was like, cool. All right, I'm good.
Did you watch the movie first?
Yeah, I did. So that I could have all the Jeff Bridges voice in my head. We still haven't even gotten to The Giver yet, but still, it was, and it was interesting because I remember reading it as a kid and kind of knowing what the story was, remembering it, but rewatching the film, it was very interesting to refresh with what the plot is. And then I would have been fine, but it did help me to really visualize and contextualize like what the world is and and to see how the movie did its world building versus how the book does in the first few chapters is really interesting. So the first 5 is just all basic setup.
Yep.
It's teen
very
boy named
exposition.
Jonas. He is living in a fictional community. His best friend is a kid named Archer, who's like
Asher.
a goof off. Asher, yeah, it is. It's Asher, not Archer, right? It's
Okay,
Asher.
I'm here for
Asher.
you.
Thank you so much. He's got one
Thank
sister.
God you're here.
He's got like a 6-year-old sister, I think. She's 6, and 2 parents, and each family only has a boy and a girl. And they're assigned those kids from like a birth mother, so they're not even
which
genetically
is-
related.
Yeah.
Reading this as a kid, I was more dealing with his feelings. When I read that, my whole body seized up. I was like, that's horrifying.
It's very Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
just-
Yeah. And then like making it seem like that was a cushy job the way that we're learning about it. Lily was like, I want to do that when I grow up because I like kids and like they're taken care of. And her mom was like, no, you don't, because you just go right to work after that. You get 3 years of cushy having babies, and then you go spend the rest of your life as a
LOL,
laborer.
by the way.
Yeah.
A
You
lady
pop out
who has
3 babies.
clearly hasn't had a baby. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. That's
how
true.
dare you?
That's true.
You become a nightmare person
Yeah.
for 3 years.
How
Your
dare you?
body is there's
Katie
a
Holmes'
parasite
mom.
living inside of you.
In this society, everybody is the same. Emotions and memories are suppressed. The memories thing is really interesting too. Everyone has a specific predetermined role or job that they'll study you when you're a kid, and then when you get to the ceremony of 12s, they assign you your career, and a lot of the times the kids already know what they're gonna, just from like their extracurricular activities, just from how they're being observed, the society, this community assigns that kid like, oh, okay, you really like volunteering with the babies that are born, so now you're gonna be a nurturer. And I also like how in the first few chapters you learn that Jonah's father is a nurturer, which I think is
love
interesting.
that.
It's kind of and that also again threw me when I was watching the movie. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool that they did that, but it's right here in Lois Lowry's book. It's not a big deal, but this father figure, a male presence, loves spending time with infants and babies and helping them, and that's why he's a nurturer. And it's not a big deal in this society. It's not looked down on. It's not considered a woman's job.
What's
Yeah.
interesting is his character, I think he's just Father. I don't remember his name, but Father is our window, the first window that you get that he doesn't want the babies to be released. Like he's but not even to a point where it's dangerous or anything like that. He's just like, oh, I just really hope that we get to keep.
We can figure it out.
We can
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And everybody else is like, yeah, well, the release is going to happen or not. It's fine. But this character is like
He's going a little above and beyond.
a little above and beyond
Yeah.
to protect or guard, or he just doesn't want the release to happen.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
Yeah, and I think that can open up, seeing that for Jonas opens up that possibility. It feels like he's questioning things more. It feels like even when they have the conversation where which sounds to me, I mean, maybe it's healthy, but going around to the dinner table.
Oh, the feelings? I think that is kind of healthy to an extent. I
to
like
an
that.
extent,
I
when
think that that's
thought
a
about
really
it, I
cool
was
thing.
like, why does this make me so uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Should we do it right now? Amy, how are you feeling?
I feel attacked whenever I'm sitting next to Hector.
Oh my god.
Come on.
Great, that's
That was the most little brother thing
Thank you
I've
for
ever
sharing
seen.
your
I
feeling.
know.
And
I'm
as
not touching you. I'm not
and-
touching
yeah.
you. I'm not touching you.
and as one of the regular hosts on the show, I would like to invite for you to get the fuck over it, and we'll just move on from there.
That is something else that they do is like they tie a nice little bow. At
Yeah,
the
they're
end
like,
of it,
and done.
and we fix that feeling,
Right?
Yeah, that's what's. I feel like some things are meant to be private, and also that.
Is this your feeling that you're sharing right now? Is this your share?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
I feel.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
I feel okay. Wait, this is another tangent, but I went to after going to an all-girls school, which we've discussed. I transferred halfway through. Yeah. Oh yeah, I went to an all-girls school for 5 years.
Get a load of this.
And I transferred to from the complete opposite to like a very hippie
All boys school.
private school in Santa Monica that I had a scholarship for, and this place did like portfolios instead of grades, and you called the teacher by the first name, which was really weird.
Jarring.
And we had a weekly class called Mysteries, where you pass around a talking stick or item and talk about and I coming from nuns, where I'd write a paper that was not in the path of like what they were teaching. That was like, but what about this? They'd be like, now
Why is it
to
called
that.
Wow.
Mysteries?
I don't know.
That already is like. I mean, you were
very
born to
cultish.
grow up reading these books.
Mysteries of your
One
feelings.
mystery is solved of
Yeah.
why you like thrillers.
So you'd
Yeah.
like talk about your feelings, or there'd be a theme or anything, and like I was a pretty angsty teen, and so I'd get there and be like, no, like just no, I don't want to. But I feel like yes, it's healthy, but it's almost not, because it's like you address it, but then if it's wrong, it's
You're
over.
right.
And that's when when he has that conversation, he's like, I had this dream, and it's a fairly innocent dream, but you can tell it's this, not that sex isn't innocent, it's
sexual
normal.
dream.
Everyone is
Yeah.
varying
It's
degrees
it's
of
a
sexual
naughty dream.
or
He's
not
being
at all.
naughty.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that being a young girl at a religious school where your sex education in Los Angeles, by the way,
Yeah.
which might not be what it should be, might be potentially traumatizing.
Don't.
Just a story
Don't.
for a later.
Don't ever do
a
it.
story for a
Don't.
later day, not on this,
Oh,
but.
no.
And so having that, where this is such a crucial age where people from all different backgrounds, all different religions, no religions, everything, I think it's so important to be sex positive for young people, because it can be anything at that age is devastating and can cause problems for you for your whole life. And so I think having that where it's like, oh, you just take a pill and then it's over is insidious, because it's not like you're saying like you're bad and then someone grows up with like intense guilt or all sorts of other things, but it's still removing this part of you and anything that really makes you that doesn't fit this uniform thing and doesn't even let you know that you're doing that.
Yeah.
The pill part, here's what, okay, so I went into like this mode of like why this book got banned, and I feel like when you hear that he's taking a pill to correct or shut down the horny, like all like
Gotta shut that horny
gotta
down.
shut that horny down. But when you hear that, I could see these people who ban the books being like, good.
Yep.
Okay, and then la la la, and then you get to like halfway or wherever it's going to happen, where
you know he's gonna stop taking the pill.
or this like a utopia is actually a dystopia, and then they're like, wait, so the commentary is that shutting down the horny is bad? No,
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
you know, like they
It
probably
makes sense.
enjoyed watching that, and being like,
Yes.
oh, I wish I could give my child a pill.
My feeling is I feel like I'm in a very vulnerable place right
Your
now.
arms are crossed so we can see
That's
that.
true. I'm in a here, let me be more vulnerable. My feelings are, Rachel, I feel like I'm really enjoying this book, and I'm enjoying it more talking about it with my friends. And I was looking forward to this week because I read this book and I felt like, ooh, this is the one book Hector's read before coming to doing this fucking show, and everything else I'm an idiot about. And at the end of this, I'm really going to keep liking the book, and I'll probably even buy the movie on Blu-ray. That's how I'm feeling. Okay.
That was uninspired.
Ooh, come on, that was very uninspired. No, but I am really liking this book so far, and I'm glad that it's something that holds up, because you worry when you like something when you're 13. You're
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh, no, this
true.
is awesome. Oh, this is terrible, or whatever. So
That's true.
So here's another thing: is this next part that's in the script right now, the teleprompter, the go up a little bit, that right there, is that like for sure, or is this something that we are interpreting? Does that make sense? Because here's where I start to get, I'm worried. I don't want to spoil anything. That's why I'm mentioning this. I don't want to spoil anything.
The top one
yes,
or the bottom one?
The one at the bottom one, the two words, blank, blank.
Yeah.
Is that a spoiler, or is this something
I
that
feel
like
like that was-
already in the book you are picking up on as a reader?
No, that was definitely, I remember reading
How does
that.
Lois describe this? Say that again. What was?
Yeah, the dream, and then I think when the ball is flying, or when he's seeing
apple.
The apple, yes.
So let's get into it. Here's what
Okay.
I'm only curious because I know this about the world, but reading the first few chapters, I was looking for a definitive Lois Lowry saying the world has no color. There is an absence of color, and
Right.
I didn't read that, but
I
maybe
don't think we would like it if it said that.
no,
though.
we wouldn't. But I didn't want to. I don't know
We'd
if
be
that,
like exposition.
I don't know if that comes later because what happens is that there is a flashback where Jonas recalls playing with an apple or throwing an apple, and that it changes.
Yeah.
We as the reader know what that is. It's Pleasantville.
Right. Yes.
He has so much horny
God, the movie's
that he
so
sees the apple turn red for a second, and he can't quite describe it. And the way that Lowry does that scene, I think, is really brilliant. Where it's just like he can't describe. Like imagine not knowing what a color is and then describing that color.
We
That's
had this
kinda-
conversation.
We've had this conversation
last week. So we were watching The Martian Chronicles, and we got into kind of a stoner talk about words and perception of whether or not.
Oh,
we
get into
can't-
it. What if to you?
Okay.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Red?
Oh no, I know
What
where
if-
this is
what
going.
if
I
to
thought
you-
about this, and this is like the recipe for a panic attack.
What if to you the color red is my color blue?
I know. I know. I knew
The
that was
dress
the
is
question.
red.
I know.
But like I'm seeing it red and I can't describe the color. It's like very vivid. It's,
Oh, I
it's
know.
like
I
color
mean,
of blood. But what if to Amy like that's my blue?
Do you know what? I got so into that way of thinking when I was, I think, in high school, that I would walk around and this is a deeper version of that, but I would go, okay, remember this moment. And I would like clock everything.
Yeah.
And because it was just this weird feeling of like, what if the things that I know aren't what I know and nothing's real? Clock this moment. I'm walking the dog. Dog is black. The sky's blue.
Clock this moment.
Like it was just like this thing that I would just do for myself. So I've gone down this path.
Yeah.
And it is dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
But it is a beautiful way to describe it, and it
It's
did
also a red herring. She buries that
Yes.
because it comes as a form of a punishment. So it's like what he's actually focusing on is the shame of having taken the apple home to look at it. But the description of actually what happened, it was just his excuse for the punishment. So it's like buried as the part B to the story when really it's the part A.
It's a part. You're saying that to Jonas the important thing is that he got punished,
Yep.
not
Yeah.
that he actually experienced this Pleasantville
for
moment.
us.
Yeah.
That's for us.
That's
Okay,
for us.
so I really like that, and now I definitely want you guys to watch the movie because I like how they tackle that as well. I thought it was well done. Okay, great. So we have that, and then we are living in a society where there is this thing that they do where everybody apologizes and then they say we accept your apology. That sort of like fake decorum that they have. How did you guys feel about that? That's classic cult brainwashing thing for me.
Well,
Absolutely.
it feels like
But it
a
comes from a nice place.
double-edged sword,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, well, wouldn't it be not? I mean, it's the same thing about different schools of thought about capitalism and socialism and communism, and there are good elements to things, and then when human beings get involved in a theory, they inevitably turn it into a different thing because they fuck it up because you bring the humanity to it for better or worse. We do have these feelings, we do have these things, and you do have to teach yourself, because we live in the society we live in, you should and hopefully will teach yourself how to treat people with the golden rule.
Yes.
We've talked about this. It's a base level. But for this, it's like, is it good to say sorry and to accept an apology? Yes, but is it real? Is it good to talk about your feelings if they're not actually really being heard or you're not processing them?
Can I blow your mind a little bit? Because
Yes.
I want to ask this question and I want to get into it.
Yes.
Is the phrase "I love you too" genuine or just an automatic response?
For me, it's both. No. For me, it absolutely is both. It absolutely is both.
It's
I
both?
do not
Okay.
end a phone call with my family. The only people I say I love you
Sure.
to are my family at the moment.
Ooh.
But
You hear that, gents, ladies? Amy's single.
but at the end of every phone call, I will not get off the phone
say,
until I say
okay,
I love
bye,
you.
Amy, I love you.
Because I mean it, but also, and it is a habit, and it is autopilot, and at the same time, I 100% mean it every single time, and if I don't do it, I will call them back to tell them.
Really?
Absolutely.
Is it a bit of like I don't know when I'm gonna have a chance to tell these people that I love that again? You never know, so I want to get it in.
A little bit of that.
That's fine.
Which okay, but
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
yeah, there's a little bit of that, but also you went through a whole conversation. However it went, it's a really good thing to tell the people that you actually love
Yes.
that this is still a real thing.
And they know that.
And they do know
and
it.
It's
Absolutely.
a reminder. And Rachel.
Yes.
Oh, you think it is fake?
No, I don't think it's fake. I
Oh.
think it can be fake. I think it depends on the people you're talking to. I think it can be a habit. I had a thing with my mom growing up where there was like never go to bed mad, right?
Sure.
And so I'm a firm believer in that. Doesn't always work out for me because there are
Yes.
more people involved than just me. But and everyone deals with their feelings differently. Some people are like, let's talk about it right now, and other people are like, no, I need space.
Yeah.
But I say it with my family, my and it's part habit at this
Yeah.
point. And obviously I love my family. But what I really like to do, and it's past I love you, I think. I say it a lot to my friends. I say it to my boyfriend and partner. But I like to say it to my friends a lot.
Whatever
the
it is, I
people
already
who are
know I'm
really,
stealing it.
really close. Oh no, I love
I
love
love you.
Steal that.
I thought
yeah.
that was another
Steal that.
thing that you
Oh
were
no,
gonna say.
I wouldn't if there was.
Rachel's
I wouldn't
catchphrase
say
is for her most loved ones
Booby-doo-doo-doo.
catch you on the flip side, skizzles, and then she's out. Rachel loves to say it, and to her it means I love you times 1,000. That's what.
Yeah,
that means.
it's the most. But yeah, I say it a lot to my chosen family as well because I feel like that is really important to me. But I also like to go out of my way to compliment strangers because it's so a genuine compliment. But like if I see an outfit that I like or someone does something really great or like I don't know, there's a lot of people who work in this building now, and I get a little shy, and so sometimes I don't know who people are, but then I'll see them do something and I'll be like, that was great. Okay, bye. I gotta go, and like run away because when it happens to me, it'll make my whole day.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
great.
I think that being genuine, and I like to try to be honest with my feelings. The problem is you have another person in that equation,
Right.
so you can always generally control how you express yourself, but that might not be how it's interpreted. That might.
Yeah.
So there's a rule here in place to keep that very neat. So it's like, I accept your apology. Thank you. That's not how fights work.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing got solved.
Yeah, that would be great, but it's not real. And do you resolve that? Does it keep happening? You know?
I will say, I went to a wedding this weekend, and the vows were really cool because it felt very modern, like what actual love kind of is accepted as nowadays. Like,
Oh, cool.
I feel like growing up, you are told, or at least I felt like love was this, mystical, magical thing. Weddings and marriages were mystical and magical, and pretty esoteric and unreachable, and fairy tale and all that. And the vows were. I mean, 50% gush, I guess, but mostly it was focused on, I am so imperfect. I'm so effing
that's cool.
flawed, and you deal with it, and you're the best
Yeah.
for that. And that was the theme through every
Yeah.
speech, through every best man speech, through every the vows,
That's great.
everything was not hiding behind this this glamour veil.
Yeah, I've experienced like weddings where the vows are also like, cool, and now we begin our journey of we got to work our asses off every single day. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna figure this out together. We're gonna work. It's work. It's gonna be work. And they keep hitting it over and over again. You're like, yeah, cool.
It just wasn't uncomfortable anymore, and it didn't. I don't know if it necessarily made me tear up as much as the other stuff does, because I think my the heart wants to be like, yeah, fairy tale, but the other, it was just so cool, and real. And I wish someone had told me that earlier, that's what actually a relationship
And
is.
here's an interesting conversation from Maude
Yeah.
saying that they don't have I love you in their native language, in their native tongue. We have te quiero, which is what you would say to a friend, and te amo, which is what you say to your family or significant other. Even in English, to my friends, I say I love you, but I mean it as te quiero, not as te amo. But I guess I'm the one who perceives that difference in my head. So even language
Great.
can lead to a different interpretation and stuff. I'll be honest, I sometimes feel awkward, especially from a significant other, when I love you is exchanged. I feel awkward saying it right immediately. I feel like that's a program response, and what I'll do is I'll try to wait like 5-10 minutes till something, and then I'll try to throw it in there myself. And I stole that from a comic book. Green Arrow is the same way with Black Canary in Justice. She says, I love you to him, and he doesn't say it. And then later, when they're about to die on this building that's crumbling, he says to her, like, I love you. And then but he can't say it automatically because he feels like it's phony.
There was one time,
So
this
stupid.
is I love that too. I hope your girlfriend's watching. But there was a time when I was in a relationship, guys, and I was testing it out. I definitely was in love. And I was testing it out. I pretended to be asleep.
Oh, no. Amy, you're the best. Pretend. Here's how you do it. Pretend to be asleep.
Pretended I sleep talk. Yeah, and I was
no.
like, because I was going to test it out for like maybe trying it out the next day, and of course I'm the first one to say it. Like I cannot wait. So,
no.
I love you. And he like. I think he waited for a second. I know he was thinking, is she asleep? Is she not? And he said it back, and I was like, yay! Like the next day, I was able to say it to him because I knew it was going to come back.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
Nothing. I was asleep. What? Nothing.
No.
Yeah,
Huh?
we never
What'd you
talked
say?
about it.
What'd you say,
Get
babe?
me a pizza.
Yeah.
The
Clouds.
katana sword.
The clown has no penis. What? You're just dreaming.
But I love minus that. I love that those things are beautiful.
Yeah.
The flaws are beautiful. They make people unique.
Yeah.
And there is a theme in this and in other books that
Difference
being the same, it's a wrinkle.
bad.
A Wrinkle in Time, which is
Yeah.
another kid's book that holds up and has really amazing themes.
I
that
agree.
that your differences are powerful. That they're important to other people because you get a new perspective. How do you ever learn anything? How do you ever change or evolve if you're always the same?
Exactly.
On that note, I didn't really think about it that much until this conversation, that the choice to have
Boom, book club.
no animals is like the best choice in the world because those are some personalities and behaviors that you have no control over, like
Yeah.
animals being animals.
true.
That's a good
And I never thought about it until now. Like there's just so much with an animal that you can't control, how they live, how they die, how they interact with each other and humans.
So they have
like,
mythical animals like elephants because everything's extinct or
Yeah.
had been wiped out.
yeah, bears, dogs, hippos.
That's
well,
so sad.
also in a really great book called The Golden Compass, which is part of His Dark Materials trilogy that we are going to read someday.
Amazing
Haven't
book.
seen the movie yet.
Thank you.
Haven't seen the movie yet. I'll have to check out that
I
movie.
don't. I've never seen the movie, and I don't.
Don't
need
watch it. I keep putting
The
it
movie's the
up,
best part.
and I bring it up. I'm now committed to
gotta
bringing
do
it
it.
up every
We gotta do
episode.
it.
Oh,
until
nice.
we read it.
I'm happy
But
to be
and then
part of
everyone's
it.
going to be disappointed. But the kids have an animal companion. It ties into the book, I swear. Have an animal companion that's part of their personality. That's usually a different gender than they are. So if you were identified as a girl, you would have a boy animal, and they shapeshift until they turn 12 or 13, and then they pick their shape, their final shape, because that's the age that I feel like we lose some of our innocence. We lose that flexibility. We gain fear of judgment. But that animal part of them is like this very fluid, like uncontrollable, changing thing. I tied it back in. We're
really
gonna
like
read
that.
it someday.
I really like that. I think we will have to read The Golden Compass at some point. So the last thing I want to read before we get to the wrap up real quick is an element that is introduced in the first part of the story that, again, as a kid, I don't think I picked up on, but Gabriel, this little baby, who is brought home. Is he brought home in this first section? Or
Yes,
is he's brought home by the father,
That's
who's the
right.
nurturer, who we learned that Gabe, everybody has brown eyes, except for Jonas and Gabe.
Yes.
And I didn't pick up on this where it's like, wait a minute, and Lily makes a joke or an offhanded comment, his younger sister, where she's like, maybe you and Gabe have the same birth mother, the same woman who gave birth to you, it maybe also gave birth to, which I don't know if age-wise that would make sense if you're only supposed to be a birth mother for 3 years and then you go, kind of doesn't make sense. But there's still something where, do you think that Gabe is supposed to be his biological younger brother that he just so happens to be interacting with because his dad is bringing him home and he wants to help him, like nurture him, or do you think that it's just set up to kind of make you think that could be?
Here's another question.
Yeah.
What if it's the same biological father? Like, I don't know who is screwing these women.
Yeah.
You
Good
know,
point.
I don't. I know, but I
Good
don't.
point. It's
but
probably
I,
just the one guy, just over and over again.
God.
Just
I know, but
It's probably
what
just
if-
one old.
what if
It's
it is
probably the
father?
giver. That's why they call him the giver.
But
It's
what?
probably Jeff Bridges. It's this old man right here.
Show is up.
Just throw up the cover of the book real quick. The giver.
No.
Wait,
no.
if I'm the new giver, what does that make you? If I'm the new receiver, what does that make you? I guess that will make me the giver. That's him right there. Look at him.
Ew.
He seeded the entire community right there.
Yeah.
Ew.
Okay.
Ew.
Well,
That's my boy. That's my boy. That's my girl right there. That's my girl.
Hate it.
But
I hate it.
back to what I was
Hector,
saying.
who have you become on this episode?
Wow.
Okay, wrap it up. You got it. What were you gonna say, Amy?
No, it just could be they don't say who is actually
The dad. So they could
Yeah.
be related, is what you're saying.
I-
Rachel,
I
thoughts?
took it to mean that they are different from the norm, and I'm curious if the mysterious giver has light eyes.
Oh, we have not met the giver yet.
Yeah.
How are you guys liking the book so far? First few chapters.
Thumbs up. I love
Okay.
it. I love
wanna
how
keep
friggin'
reading it.
fast
Good.
was.
Yeah.
But-
Good.
But I kind of hate how fast it was.
Is it too real?
What?
Okay, no, I guess not.
I don't think it's too real. I like how it feels grounded.
Listen,
so-
we read 1984, and
Yeah, it's nowhere.
you know what I mean.
Or
what else?
To kill my.
To Kill a Mockingbird. We read these books that are prescient was the word you used earlier, right,
Yeah.
Rachel? And in a real bummer way. And this isn't that, but I think that there's a lot to. This thing will always be relevant.
Yeah,
I think.
and
This-
I
this
like
type
the
of story.
logic of it. I don't have a problem with
Yeah,
the logic of
that's
story.
great. Well, Amy, thank you for doing that kind of research.
Yeah.
And I guess for being a guest, we'll get to your goodbyes here in a second. Do you guys want to predict? What do you?
Wait, I
you
don't know
guys
what's
have,
happening.
You guys have already read the book, so I'm not going to ask you what you think happens next. But for
I
you
see.
in the chat, if you guys haven't read it before, what do you guys think is going to happen next? Do you think he's going to stop taking the horny pills? I don't know. We'll find out. But here is your. I'll get to your homework in a second. Amy, thank you for being our guest this week.
Yay,
We really appreciate
so
it. Are you,
fun.
Thank you so much for
are you going to
having
keep
me.
reading it?
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean, I'm coming
fantastic.
back next week.
You're
by the
coming
way.
back next week.
I'm replacing
Either
you
way.
next week.
Yes,
It's gonna
yes,
be
you
girls'
are.
night.
Lady
Yes, you
night.
are. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Amy,
But it
where
would be
can-
fun not to read it and just still show up on the show.
That'd be fun.
B-Comp would love it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Amy, where can people find you and your work on the internet?
Okay, I am at Vorpal Sword on all the things. That's VORPAHL. My real last name, I didn't change it, at Vorpal Sword. And if you're on this show, you probably know how to spell sword.
Yep. Sword.
And then I'm the writer for Mothership, and it's going to be a really fun show tomorrow where Hector is also the host. So got to give that a sweet, sweet plug.
You'll be in the show as well, right?
Yes, I'll be. I think
At
I'm
least
just
reffing it.
Yeah, I think
cool.
I'm the ref this
Okay,
time.
great. Guys, your homework for next week is to read up to the end of chapter 11. You're going to file for bankruptcy at the end of chapter 11. You stop at the beginning of chapter 12.
Nice.
Sick joke, dude.
Nice.
Really sick, really good
Nice.
joke. So you're going 6 through 12, stop at 12. And don't forget, we are also on Goodreads. Search Alpha Book Club and come discuss books with us. If you're interested in joining us via Skype on the show, just let us know on Twitter with the hashtag Alpha Book Club at Join Team Alpha, and Courtney is going to get you guys set up so you can talk to us about The Giver. That would be awesome. Make sure that you send us your book recommendations to at Nerdist, at Geek and Sundry, or at Join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club ABC. We will see you guys next week. You're the best in the biz. And I guess that makes me the giver. That's my boy. That's my boy. That's my boy.